Okay. Good to go. At this time, I'm going to call the September 6th BOC meeting to order. We'll start out with a prayer from Commissioner Heberlein and the pledge by Commissioner Sarkella.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. We thank you for the opportunity to live in a free country, to come and to assemble ourselves together to make decisions for our county and our community. And we ask, Lord, that you would guide and direct us, give us the right thoughts and the right decisions as we go through our meetings this afternoon. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Moving on to roll call. Leslie?
District 1 Chairman John Block,
Present.
District 2 Commissioner Gary Heberlein,
Present.
District 3 Commissioner Bill Sarkella,
Here.
District 4 Commissioner Roger Ballard,
Present.
District 5 Commissioner Joel Wyatt.
Presently here.
Thank you, Leslie.
Yes.
Moving on to additions, corrections, deletions to our agenda. If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt today's agenda.
I so moved to adopt today's agenda.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Heberlein, support from Commissioner Wyatt. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to corrections of minutes. I need an approval from the minutes of August 16th. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Ballard, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Correspondence, petitions, introductions. You would get your correspondence from Jody the other day. At this time, we'll move into commissioner reports and we will start with Commissioner Sarkella.
Just quickly, I was approached by a couple of constituents and then had a discussion following with the Thumb Land Conservancy. The CYO camp north of where I live has come up for sale, the girls camp, 26 acres. And there was some discussion about potentially having the DNR trust fund get involved with a possible purchase. And so the Thumb Land Conservancy, their director, Bill Collins from Brown City, had gone ahead and made an offer to the CYO to the tune of 1.5 million. They came back at them and said they need 2.5 million because they're utilizing the dollars to improve the boys CYO camp and make that a girls and boys camp. So at this point in time, that discussion's kind of come to a halt. I was out of town for a bit, but in order to approach the DNR trust fund, they need a public entity to hold those dollars for them in the process of going through that. So that's something where we as county commissioners might have to make a decision as a board, possibly, if we're willing to do that. So I just was bringing that before everybody today, just for discussion. And if you want me to be the point man on that, I can approach Bill again and say, we'd be willing to possibly do that. According to him, when a property like that comes available, the DNR has like a point system and they look at all the possibilities of use for it. And it really would, he said, would score very high, possibly to have a purchase of that. And then, deciding on what use would be moving forward would be up to the conservancy or the board itself. However, we may or may not want to do that, but I just wanted to share that with you. And then I don't know if it'll, move any further. The DNR might say thanks, but no thanks. But anyway, it is an opportunity. In the meantime, it may just sell commercially as well. So we don't know that.
I had some conversations with Bill myself. And so at this time, I think it'd be good if maybe we had a little discussion amongst the board about whether there's interest and possibly having you be a lead person to look into that. The way I understood the conversation is a municipality has to be involved with ownership. So it'd be almost as if the county would own the property. It could be a county park or, a public space. But we would kind of be on the hook to make the purchase and then the possibility of the DNR trust fund reimbursing us. So when I had talked to Bill, I told him we would have this conversation and we'd see what the board thought and then get back with them. If anybody has any thoughts.
So there's a price that's settled upon. The responsibility for paying that comes on the county with the prospective reimbursement from the DNR if they choose to do so at the price that we're asking for. Otherwise, we own another big piece of property.
Correct.
Typically, that would be a acquisition grant through the DNR to acquire the property. I don't know that you would get reimbursed if you went out and purchased it first. I don't think it would work that way.
Okay.
It would be a fresh sale.
It's a good point.
Yeah, it's application process of whatever the DNR trust fund has.
We've used that for
Yeah.
transfer parts.
Did Bill ever reach out to you about?
He did. We spoke briefly on it.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I told him that there was the chance that the county had already been highly involved in DNR trust fund grants, and that's potentially a strike against us to a degree if we're readily accepting funds from them to do another big project.
We have one that, excuse me, has been accepted now. We have another big one in the process.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's still opportunity to reach out to the township and anybody else in that area that might be willing to absorb that as well.
Well, one of the downsides to that is it takes that property out of the tax rolls.
Correct.
So right now it's paying money on taxes, right?
Well, the CYO camp is likely a 5013C.
They may not be.
They may not be.
So it's possibility with it being a public sale, it could be put on the tax rolls. Unless it was another,
If I remember right, it was 24 acres and 1,000 feet of waterfront.
Yeah.
Right.
we already have a couple of parks.
We do have
I do
two on Lake Huron as it is.
3.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, one undeveloped. How many acres is that, Delaware?
Oh, you had to ask. There's 3 different parcels. I don't know off the top of my head.
They
We
got,
have 1,500 feet of waterfront.
okay, similar. So we already got one that's already undeveloped, looking for development. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess my perspective would be is we already have 3 pieces of property along Lake Huron. I'm just not sure that we have the resources to take that piece of property and make it useful for the public. So it might be better off in the hands of another organization that wishes to use it, or potentially a private sale that then generates tax revenue.
Well, that's stretching.
Well, I don't know, John, was you and I talking or Roger and I talking, you can oversaturate too, like you just said, you have 3 parks right in a row there, so. Yeah, I think we need to take a look at it.
That stretch of land there has what, 2 roadside parks already, right? That the public can readily access.
MDOT parks, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have one south of Port Sanilac and one 4 miles north of Dunkerville Road.
Ultimately, the ownership may not land in the county's hands. It's just, they need a municipality to proceed with the funding forward if so.
But if they use trust fund, DNR trust fund funds, it would have to remain in the hands of the county. You couldn't transfer ownership.
I had a question too, when I had talked to Bill at the Land Conservancy about the way that they were applying a price to that piece of property. Really what would need to happen is there'd have to be an appraisal to see
certainly.
what the real value is. So from my perspective, maybe it would be okay to make Bill the lead person on it to work with them. And if he wants to bring back information in the future, we'd be willing to listen to it. Does that seem fair?
I mean, it doesn't sound like, oh, it's a smoking hot deal that we want to take advantage of. We don't have any plans that are, waiting for a purchase like that to activate. Right? We already got Delaware that remains underutilized in some sense. I think it would be preferable to have it fall in the hands of a public entity that actually pays some decent taxes, whether it's a condo development or a resort or something along those lines.
Roger, I'd be interested to get your thought on it. What would your thought be if that was something that we did obtain down the road? Would we be better off to look at something like that that's already has a number of amenities there rather than looking at generating a brand new park in Delaware?
I have no idea what amenities are at that facility, so I really couldn't answer that. I'll jump ahead here. We did get a cost opinion from BMJ Engineering on Delaware Park with a 20% contingency built in. It was just over $6 million to develop that into a campground.
Okay.
And I was guessing 5 million just based on a cost projection done in 2007 or 8. So yeah, it's 6 million to develop that.
That includes contingency.
Yeah.
That's a good point though, Gary. If we trade one for the other in the sense of existing development that's useful.
I want to hear Roger's thought.
I don't know how old, I'm sure them structures are all old.
Yeah.
It'd take probably millions to really get it up to.
Do you have a
Good
group to
standards.
be able to analyze a parcel of land for its feasibility for a park? Say which one may be better? Take a look at Delaware.
Oh, I'm sure
versus
we
that.
could.
Yeah,
You gonna fund that for us?
well,
We're
I
kinda
mean,
tight
you
right
got a
now.
board, you got a bunch of guys sitting around that have some experience in it. Can't you guys go drive out there
Oh,
and
we could just go. look
traipse
at
around?
it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just- Yeah,
Because I mean, if that was feasible, that would be.
Yeah.
A good use of time to
Yep.
compare the two.
Okay.
If we're first up.
I'll bring that up at the meeting tonight.
Well, Bill, I didn't want to hijack your commissioner report, but I wanted to
Yeah,
have
that's all I have.
a full board discussion.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
Thanks for the input.
thank you. Gary, your report?
Yeah, I'll cover it quickly. We had a accident, I think it was on the news, and Nathan sent out some information on it here a couple weeks ago, out in French Line and in M19. And as you know, we did some signing changes and put culvert in out on Ruth Road in M46 year and a half, 2 years ago, because of a lot of accidents there. So I wrote back to Nathan and asked him if there was any way that we could take signage or have the same rules or the same signage at all of these secondary, or highlight secondary roads, blacktop roads coming into M19 or M46, because what they did with Decker Road, we had stop ahead signs or 1,500 foot, whatever, and then another 2 stop signs. It gets people's attention. And because I live out in this area on French Line and M19, there's a lot of accidents because there's 2 homes basically right on the corner, and the perception when you're coming from the west, and I know it's a driver's job to stop because there's a stop sign, but there's a perception that it's kind of a through road there. So I got a hold of Nathan and see if we could get a hold of whoever, and I think you got a hold of the road commission to see if they could standardize the signage at these highly used corners. So Nathan said that they're looking at MDOT for help signage. So the other things, I'll move on real quickly. Talking to Dave Faber, the manager, about the sewage system at the jail, and that's moving along fine. I think most of you know about that. And also, just the other day, we talked about the dog kennel, and Nathan, I think he came in and talked to you. Dave did, and he's got an idea about taking that over, not taking it over, but helping us build that. Was that a correct statement, or funding the thing? Or?
I think there might just be.
There's some options, let me say that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, some positive options to move that forward.
Yeah.
And as far as the Brownsfield issue at Pine Street, Pine Lane, going to school, Dave is still working with Carl Asantowski on that to see if we can get that cleaned up, and we possibly use some local brownfield monies to clean that up, at least temporarily put grass on it, and then as money comes from grants to actually remove the dirt, we're still working on that. So. And lots of township meetings and other meetings today and this week.
Thank you for your report, Gary. I'll be very brief. Mine was similar to Gary's. I was working with Marion Township Supervisor Kurt Schubel on some road issues in Marion Township. That's all I have. Roger?
I have no report.
Okay. Joel?
Well, most of what's in the last couple of weeks, been phone calls from folks concerned about the Liberty Wind Park. Some folks are just getting wind of it, wondering what the county is doing to stop it. I said, that's not our perspective, or that's not our responsibility to do so. But you should probably go to the townships and let them know how you feel about it. So tonight in Speaker Township, there is a township board meeting. Whether you're for or against it, it would be wise for you to show up there and let the elected representatives know how you feel about it. Or better yet, get their contact information and talk to them one-on-one. That's always a very useful thing. I know as an elected representative, when people call me, it really does give you a better perspective that people are actually concerned about it, and changes the way you look at a subject. So I encourage you to do that. Other than that, Worth Township's got some property they're selling along the Lakeshore Road there, next to the water tower. It may be difficult. It's a residential home that was used as a DPW building, so it's all chopped up pretty good. But they've got it listed with a realtor to sell, and think that's really about it.
Your topic about the wind turbine, the issue there reminds me, so Lisa Kenny, who is a consultant the county has hired to help us with our master plan. She's sourcing some, there's a doctor from the University of Michigan that does training for townships related to contentious land use projects like this. And she asked me for some points on what would be good things to educate the township about. And one of the items that I indicated would be a really good thing to try to educate townships about is that minimum requirement of posting in the newspaper. While you need to meet that requirement for the legal standard, it may not be the best standard to inform a community of a project of that size. Because I remember you bringing up these topics last year, Joel, in these meetings. It's unfortunate that there's people that weren't aware.
Oh, I took a couple phone calls from some very irate people and I could just see their finger wagging at me through the phone, about why aren't you this and why aren't they that and stuff. It's like, you're a year and a half too late. You gotta pay attention to what's published in the paper and go to your meetings. Well, we have elected representatives are supposed to do what we want, why do we have to show up there? They're your elected representative. How do they know what you want if you don't communicate that with them? I believe in my mind that the representatives in Speaker Township and Fremont are doing what they feel is in the best interest of their community overall. I really believe that with my heart. I know those individuals from going to meetings. I don't think any of them got into that business to get some ill-gotten gain out of it. They're trying to be good public servants and they feel that's in the best interest. Now, they might be wrong about what the best interest is, but that's what they're doing.
Right. Okay, at this time, we'll move on to our administrator's report. Nathan?
Thank you. Thought it was interesting when Joel was talking about the Liberty Wind Park, because there's been a lot of information that's come through recently in regards to those turbines and the height of them, and they're looking to be some of the taller turbines. I think I had heard that they're looking at them being comparable to, there's one other site in Texas, I think, in the US.
Yeah, there's only like 2 of them in the United States that have that height.
Comparable in height. And hearing that people are not informed, it's too bad. There's a lot of information out there that would be nice if people knew. I was sitting last Friday in one of the meetings we've been having with the MREC coalition and hearing them say that, from prior developed windmill sites, we've been here we are, multiple counties in a 10 to 11 year litigation over the value of those because it changed so much right after they were put in. And some of those things I don't know if people realize. So it's just something that, hopefully people don't get surprised by these things and hopefully they can be informed moving forward. And as it becomes more, I don't know if I'd say normal, but as people hear some of these things and get more educated with it coming to the area, hopefully they'll be able to make, good decisions for the townships. So Gary had talked about the brownfield site. I think I expressed to a couple of you, had some issues getting the brownfield committee together. So I'm gonna be, I guess, reaching back out to you guys to see if maybe we need to look for some other folks to sit on that committee so that we can meet and do some things, because we do have some money that we could do some things with here locally. And the fact that we can't get folks together to meet is kind of hindering our ability to do things. So this Friday I have a city managers meeting. They invited me to come, which I think will be good. It'll give me an opportunity to meet with the individual city managers to hear what they have going on locally in their jurisdictions and then see from a county perspective how that works with the things we're doing. So excited about that. And last thing I had was we had a policy meeting today. One of the things we talked about was exit interviews as employees are leaving, meeting with them to kind of get a chance to discuss why they're leaving. And we'd like to do more of that moving forward. And I think it'll give us a good perspective to see maybe why we're losing some of the employees we are. To be able to identify some of those things, I think is just necessary moving forward. So we can look at things we have to shore up here at the county. If we do. Okay. So thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Any questions for Nathan? Hearing none, we'll move on to public comments pertaining to today's agenda. Are there any public comments pertaining to the agenda today?
Well, I do have a couple comments.
Is it pertaining to the agenda?
No,
There's a second opportunity for public comment right before the end of the meeting. That'd be the appropriate time.
thank you. for explaining.
Seeing none, we will move on to appointments to standing committees. Is Marjorie Ross here? She is not. So there will be no interview. That'll take us down to the appointment for a partial term to the Safe Partnership Millage Board. At our previous meeting, we had a conversation about looking for some more input on that. We had referred this to this meeting. If someone would like to make a motion for an appointment or a referral of this to the next meeting in 2 weeks.
I would like to make a motion to refer it to the next meeting. Can we do it one meeting at a time, or can we do it for a month at a time? Because I don't think even referring to the next meeting is going to give us enough time.
What are we trying to accomplish?
True.
Well, as you expressed in our last meeting, Commissioner Wyatt, we were looking for more people to apply for that job. There was some legitimate reasons. You did a great job spelling it out why. And I think we all understand that. So I don't know if we want to advertise it another month. I think 2 weeks, if we keep doing it 2 weeks, I think we should get it out there. On our website, maybe even put it in a favor. I don't know.
Well,
I don't disagree with
My
Gary.
motion would be not in 2 weeks, but a month from now.
The first board meeting about.
postpone it to another specific date. I support that for some additional discussion.
So we have a motion to refer this to the first board meeting of October. We have support. Discussion?
Well, what's your perspective on getting people to volunteer? Are we barking up the wrong tree, or is it just this is the way it is?
We've, the committee, the Safe Partnership has put some feelers out with some movers and shakers in the community. And we do have several people who have spoke interest in the position. I just think because of the time of year, right before school starting, they just hadn't, I actually just got a text as I'm sitting here from the sheriff saying someone he had talked to was going to get their letter in today. Well, it's appointment is today. So if you postpone it, you should have hopefully at least a couple more choices.
Well, you're intimately involved, clearly. Would you say it'd be advantageous for your group to have some additional people to consider?
It would be. It would be nice to have somebody fresh, someone who's outside of the systems that are part of, because we have a lot of involvement from folks. They're also intimately involved with those organizations. So it'd be nice to have some different products. Yes.
What are we doing wrong, if anything, of finding interested people, not even qualified, just interested?
You know, I can't answer that. I think it's just a change in our society. You know, we advertise on the website, we put it on Facebook, we put it on in the paper. People don't use those venues anymore. So a lot of times I think we're breaking it down to going back to 100 years ago and doing word of mouth. And that's kind of what's happened over the last 2 weeks. So I've been talking to some people I know in the Lexington area. I know Cher's been talking to different people. So I think we're going to get some decent, my hope is, I've had a lot of people say, yeah, I'm interested, I'll put a letter in, but whether they actually do that.
What about social media? What about social media? I know you and Brian, you use social media.
Well, I don't really, but I dabble. a little
Oh, okay, right. The health department does.
bit. Sure. CMH does, I just don't personally.
Oh, right. Okay, I understand. But would you say that that would be a good medium? Because like John addressed earlier, we put it in the paper of record, but whip-de-doo, nobody reads it anymore, I guess.
And we've done that and
No offense, sir.
the Safe Partnership as a committee doesn't have a social media account because we're just a village committee.
Yeah.
But
Well, what about the county, though, having a social media presence for that specific purpose? Would that be
I
something?
had that conversation today.
Oh,
because
great.
This is a chronic issue that I see within this organization. There are so many subboards. We're always looking for people, getting good participation.
Bidding.
We have a brownfield board that there's funding to use. We can't get people together to meet. We could potentially miss out on some opportunities, and we need to find a way to rectify that situation. Social media is a double-edged sword. We all know that.
Oh, boy.
One concern that I have with social media, although it may be worthwhile, is you can run into Open Meeting Act violation issues if you were to post something or maybe delete a comment. So there are some legalities that go along with that. I had a conversation with City Manager Dave Faber previously about social media, and he indicated that the city has a software program that's like backing up and updating everything that's ever posted, so that regardless of what may happen to that website, there's a public record. So, we would have to investigate on what the cost would be, because it could become a very costly thing.
Well, this has been problematic for a couple of years.
Yep.
And you mentioned it and others have mentioned getting that message out there. I mean, it's really advantageous. It lets a lot of people know with the referrals and the shares and such. So what's the mechanism by which we can consider moving rapidly ahead with some type of social media presence on behalf of the county?
I don't like the word rapid.
Yeah.
We like to move at a glacial pace in government, make sure we cover our bases. But I've already instigated that conversation with Jody this morning, and I'll follow up with Nathan about it. And possibly we could have some answers to those questions in a couple of weeks on what it would look like for the county to have a social media page, even if it was one solely for the purpose of community outreach. We have appointments available, because I would like to see greater participation amongst the public. As if we constantly deal with these issues, and what you brought up during your commissioner report, those of us that are here, we're here because we saw issues in the past and we wanted to be involved in it. So and there are lots of other opportunities on subboards within the county to have that type of input.
And socially, things have changed. We've talked about this 100 times. I look around the room here. There's a handful of people under 50 in here, right? And it don't just happen here. It happens everywhere. It happens in schools. It happens in churches. It happens in Kiwanis board. You look at most of the ages in there. They're not. Most of them have some gray hair somewhere. And back when we were kids, we wanted to, at least I did, we wanted to jump in and be part of that and be part of the community. And that's changed completely everywhere,
Are the school districts that you know of involved with social media, that they have pages that they disseminate information?
The district that I'm involved in has a Facebook page.
How's that working out?
It's a challenge. You have one parent that's using the app, another parent sees it on Facebook. We've had comments about, well, I find out everything on Facebook. Well, apparently you check your Facebook status before you check the Deckerville app. You're never going to appease everybody, but there's no doubt that social media I doubt anybody in here would start a business today without first thinking, well, I better start a Facebook page for my business, right? That's how you're going to reach people. So I think it's something we do need to take a look at. It's just, my experience has been, there can be caveats to it. We got to make sure that we're covered.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Commissioner Black. I think Dennis Smith could probably attest to the sheriff's department moved to a social media page. Maybe the benefits, being a county entity. I see you guys do, everything from accidents, job postings to.
We were putting a bunch of accident reports on there, and you get various comments, some positive, some negative. So I stopped actually posting accident ones on there just as a trial to see. We do post them on our website under a media page, so it doesn't allow for a comment out there. So
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
just testing that out. Some people may miss that information being pushed out on Facebook, but we still use it for missing persons. If you look on there, more of a public information push.
No, Croswell Police has one. My wife's always on it with a lost dog or whatever, but man, I'll tell you what, you get a lot of buzz out of that. A lot of people.
We try to keep it more positive lately. Corrections officer graduation.
Yeah, you got the corrections deputy, completes local corrections officer.
So there is a way of putting social media on, and then you can't eliminate having any comments.
Well,
You get some wild comments. Yeah.
Facebook, you have to allow comments. You can't shut them off on Facebook, unfortunately, for parents like that. The website probably could be revamped if they put a blog on there where that type of information we pushed out on the blog. I know our sheriff's office website, we can actually make it so people can subscribe to that information we pushed out.
Lieutenant, who's in charge of your Facebook account?
I have access to it. Amanda has access to it.
Okay.
Well, if it's on Facebook, it must be true.
Check with them on it, see what. Well, find out on it.
Good discussion. Okay, this takes us back to our referral of the safe partnership millage to the first meeting of October. There's a motion of support. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion is carried. We have no chair appointments or general resolutions. So we will start into committee reports and we will start with Commissioner Wyatt.
As Gary mentioned, we had a policy and a personnel committee meeting today. The personnel committee dealt with MSU Extension's office. We talked about the subject of being that Sanilac County is part of District 10, which comprises 5 different counties, that some of the jobs that are performed by a office assistant or office individual can be done at a district level. We urged him to reconfigure, now that we have an absence and a vacancy in a position, to consider bringing a lot of those functions into a district level position, particularly since they're all doing the same thing within that district. I think it was a good meeting. At this point, we're not going to have a recommendation other than what we had in the last meeting in regards to that position. And I know that Nathan is working towards finding or having some conversations with other departments about completing some, I guess, what would you say, Gary? Like the face-to-face contact when people show up at that office. Who are they talking to? Gary had some great ideas about, you're talking about multiple services with department heads who head those services and their contact info, having that easily available for Joe Farmer, Joe Citizen to contact those people rather than have to talk to a secretary or office staff and then just get plugged into that number. They can go directly to it. That's going to be kind of a great idea.
Okay.
And then policy, Roger, go ahead.
Policy, we discussed our credit card use policy. There will be a couple of changes in that coming up pending board approval, of course, and also our resignation policy. And we discussed our purchasing policy and the purchasing limit, and that will be at a future board meeting.
Roger's happy to report that we bumped that recommendation from 2,000 to 3,500.
Well, it's not official yet.
Well, that's the recommendation.
Fingers crossed.
I've
And I
fought
think
against that.
The
for a
sheriff's
while.
department will appreciate that too.
But things cost a lot more right now, so I guess maybe that's time to bump it up $1,500 or
It's a
so.
start. It's a start. We're on our way to 10 grand. Hang in there, guys.
Oh, my gosh.
So the credit card policy, that's something that I respect the policy committee, but I just have a question. I don't think there's a business owner out there that doesn't use a card that has cash back to then benefit the organization. Is the policy going to reflect something to that nature where we're going to utilize a card for the county that generates some cash back that can generate some revenue?
We've had credit cards. The issue here was that it was in the hands of the treasurer, and it's going to be recommended that it goes to the administrator controller, and that it's done a business level credit card rather than an individual credit card, reflecting upon, in this case, Nathan's poor credit. I'm kidding.
It'll fall under the county.
It'll be county.
Rather than an
Someone's social
individual.
security number?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So,
Very good.
but that's a good question. I mean, if there's points accumulated, it'll be in the county's name, right? We talked about this before, about there's an advantage to that.
They talked about there being, it would be eligible for awards funds.
Okay. Any way that we can bring something back is something we should always be looking at. Does that conclude your report?
Fine. Yeah.
Brad?
I have a park meeting tonight. I missed our mental health board meeting last Tuesday. I apologize for that. My wife and I went up north for 5 days, came home and ate supper and had more than half of a maple tree come across her driveway. So that was my Tuesday rather than mowing lawn. And I have a DTF meeting coming up on Monday with the long month of September. My meetings got cut off. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Roger. I myself last week had a Safe Council meeting. We had a discussion about people being appointed to that board. There's going to be something before the Finance Committee today that the Safe Council is looking to do. We also had a medical control meeting. Things are going well. One thing medical control did last week is they do grants to providers. It helps them buy the equipment that they need for the buses. We did increase the size of those grants to make sure that we're expending the millage dollars and not letting them sit in the bank. So that's all I have. Gary?
I think that Joel did a great job explaining the meeting we had with the MSU today, and I'll just add to it, really not a lot to add to it, but I want to, sitting here today, to understand what we like 4-H, and there's a lot of good things about 4-H. But as the things have changed over the years, and I used the illustration in a meeting this morning, farmers used to harvest their crops and take them to local granary and sell them, right? Nobody does that anymore. They contract all their stuff. It's done months ahead of time, and it's all done before. It's getting the same way with everything in our community and our country. Everything is done online. Most of the stuff that's done with 4-H signing up and things is done online. And so we looked at ways to minimize the number of people that it takes, because we have modern technology. And the one good thing that really came out of it, we have a number of people from a state level for a regional level that can step in and do that. Then they can do it in Carroll, they can do it in Lapeer. So I think it's a good thing that we worked with Jerry and he worked with us today. So I think we're on the right path. And again, that job was funded by the county. And we really never had a thing to say about it because it was directed and managed by MSU. So I think we're on a positive step, and I know we are. So I think it's a great endeavor, and it's going to work out good. There was one more thing I was going to say. I got a Parks meeting tonight with Roger, and then the master plan that John and I both serve on the planning committee. That's come along very good. Lisa Kenny's doing a great job on it. We're focusing on housing. We're focusing on jobs. And those are two things that's really needed here in our county. So we're moving along on that. I don't think it's going to be done by December, but like you said, we're government. We're moving slow. We want to do it right the first time.
Thanks, Gary. Bill?
No, I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, that'll take us to unfinished business where we have none. So we will move into new business. And we will start with FA 095-22, award bid for removal gasoline storage tank, buildings and grounds.
San Luis County Board of Commissioners hereby reviewed all bids provided from the building and ground supervisor and awards TSP Environmental the bid for the removal of the county's underground gasoline storage tank and equipment to remediate potential soil issues and restore the concrete/blacktop at a cost not to exceed $54,215.75 with funding from ARPA.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic?
Yes, we're basically, everything is good with that now.
It is done,
What's that?
completely done.
Completely done. No complaints, no issues. Okay.
The $900 increase was,
They had some excess residual fluid on the tank from cleaning the tank and stuff that had to be hauled away. And that's where the extra cost come in, is the overage for the amount allowed in the contract.
And then there's new cement back in
We
Tablet.
got new cement, they just finished, took all the sand away, and it's all landscaped and seeded. Progress for that.
so where are you guys getting fuel now?
Marathon and various other gas stations that we have an actual business card.
That gonna work out better for you or no different?
When I look back to 2001, September 11, when all the gas stations were abuzz, that is kind of concerning. If we ever have another major event, we may have to try to get a tanker in or something. If the gas stations were to shut down, that may be something that we will have to look at.
Is it advantageous for the individual road deputies who may live a distance away from town, who find themselves at the end of the shift near their home, they're going home with their vehicle, they can top off nearby, or is that?
So with these new cards, we have a marathon card and we have, what's it called here? Business Universal to Speedway, Wax card, yeah, so we looked at most gas stations, like major chains, anyway.
So you can get fuel
Pretty much any,
four corners anywhere.
you can't get it out in Carsonville, but it's privately owned, so. For the most part, they can get it anywhere.
So Nathan, as you said, probably not everybody's a happy camper, but I got that from you. But some gas stations I've seen, even in the city and even up here, they build like a 6-foot wall, cement wall around an above ground tank. So somebody can't pop it with a gun or something. Is that something we'd probably look at? We probably wouldn't want to go back underground anyway because of contamination.
I think some point in the future, that may be something we may have to look at with, like a Homeland Security grant or some type of fund, just as a backup. Because if something happens where there is a gas shortage or gas stations go down, we have no means to get gas.
One thought, I think about other organizations that would possibly have tanks and fuel, right? And gasoline, of course, diesel would be a lot easier, like any school district around here, but exactly our road commission.
Road commission, schools.
Maybe we could at least reach out to them and that could be a potential avenue. Maybe they have a 10,000 gallon, fuel
We
tank.
should just have something as a backup.
Yeah, that was an excellent point that you made that.
I was working that day and the gas stations were lined up and I know some of them were out of gas. So that was just a thought.
Yeah,
Good point.
very good. Okay, is there any further discussion related to FA 095-22? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Moving on to FA 102-22, award and authorized demo of building central dispatch.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and authorizes the demo of a fiberglass building located in Elmer Township by James Dean Construction LLC at a cost not to exceed $5,100 with funding from the 9/11 millage.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Wyatt. Is there any discussion on the topic?
It'll turn out to be not just fiberglass.
There was some rerod and
It
some
had nothing
kind
to do with the building itself. It was the concrete pad it was sitting on. Ended up having 4-foot deep, 2-foot wide poured foundation with rebar on.
And we wanted that gone too.
He took it down as far as he could get it, but he had a ton of extra time in it. So there's about 2 foot left in the ground, but it's 6 foot down, 4 foot down.
So that's the extra.
Yeah, the extra labor he had and cut rebar to get it over.
And now what it's grassed over.
It's all grassed over, seeded, grass is growing. That's good.
as good as grass can grow in August.
Yeah, for the most part.
It was wetter in August, so I'm sure.
Yeah. Any further discussion related to FA 102-22? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Moving on to FA 112-22, authorization to amend the purchase of additional cameras in VMS switch sheriff's office.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Sheriff's Office to purchase 8 additional cameras and upgrade to a 48-port VMS switch from Ecker Controls Incorporated, at a cost not to exceed $24,403.85, and further to include the subcontracting for materials and labor at a cost of $7,224.30 for a total cost not to exceed $31,628.15.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion?
Lieutenant, was that the original cost? 7,000, was that? I can't
No.
remember.
Original proposal was the 24,000. The conversations I had with the representative there was for them to handle all the install. So I assumed that's the way the bid came in. When you guys approved it and I submitted it to them to start the project, he said that I would have to reach out to a contractor to get the wire ran. And I said, we talked, you were gonna handle all this. So after some going back and forth and they reached out directly and subcontracted with Mauer Electric, who we used to do that, which I didn't realize it wasn't part of the original bid because it was supposed to be.
How does this fit with the other bids you received?
There isn't any because we're under contract with that.
That's what he said, they subcontracted.
Yep, that was part of the original discussion.
I don't know, guys, is this holding us hostage?
Well, I mean, you could look at it that way, or
And clearly, had it been presented like that, we would have probably said, oh, well, I guess that's the cost, right?
Well, I think Lieutenant explained it very clearly. He wasn't anticipating that, or were we anticipating? So I mean, yeah, maybe the company that's doing it is holding us hostage, but we went with the information we got, right? I mean, you're not to blame, we're not to blame. It's the way it happened.
Yeah, to go outside of active patrol, we'd be upgrading the entire jail camera system. You're probably talking more closer to $1 million.
Was this the one that had proprietary, like, control over what you already have? I can't quite remember why they were the only one.
Currently in a service contract with them,
Uh-huh.
that provides 1 year on-site visit. Through the service system, 24/7.
It doesn't indicate, but typically.
But that's just to manage what we already have. But the they have their software is licensed to the cameras, so in order to get it to work, we have to go on board with them, or we have to completely switch gears.
A whole new system.
Astronomical cost.
Well, kind of, that still falls well within your budget, even this.
Yeah, it'll still come out of the commissary. Finally, it's just, it wasn't a cost that I was expecting. I wasn't happy about it, but
What is?
Joe, I'm not trying to avoid your question. I'm not. I mean, I get what you're saying, but sometimes.
How's your relationship with this group now?
They're not avoidable.
Was there a coming to
I
Jesus
wasn't
moment?
happy with that. I mean, it was some oversight on his part, I guess, but I mean, it was a verbal conversation and an email that they were to handle that. But he messed up, I guess, so he made his best effort to try to make it right, short of eating the cost, but.
Nothing else though. That's it.
Okay, any further discussion related to FA 112-22?
Mm-mm.
Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Moving on to FA 128-22, approval of 2022 current claims, Board of Commissioners.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2022 identified on the accounts payable report dated August 30th, 2022 for the general bank account in the amount of $253,611.16.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 129-22, budget adoptions, amendments, appropriations, and transfers.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following budget amendments and establishes the following accounts as listed.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 130-22, authorization to dispose of vehicle, Sheriff's Office.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Sheriff's Office dispose of a 2013 Ford Expedition with a 173,000 miles VIN number ending in 64568 through Albright Auction Service, and further authorizes all proceeds of the sale be deposited in the Sheriff's Office grant fund lines.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 131-22, authorization for courthouse closure, Sheriff's Office.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes closure to the courthouse offices on Thursday, September 1st from 11:30 a.m. to 1:00 p.m. for the purpose of conducting the annual employee picnic for immediate approval.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? This was approved for immediate approval at our last finance meeting. That's why the date is what it is. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 132-22, authorization of computer upgrade, Central Dispatch.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Great Lakes Bay Consortium computer upgrade project at a cost not to exceed $87,822.62 with funding from the 9/11 millage. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 133-22, authorization for payment of maintenance invoice, information technology.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the payment of a 3-year maintenance invoice to CyberForce for the Barracuda backup server at a cost of $26,607.33 and software updates at a cost of $73,195.56 for a total cost not to exceed $99,802.89 with funding from the Information Technology Systems 2022 budget.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 134-22, adoption of the 2022 millage rates equalization office.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby adopts the 2021 final millage rates for Sanilac County as follows and further authorizes the board chairman to sign the necessary documents. Would you like me to read those millage rates?
No, well, that's your reading, sorry.
If you wouldn't mind, Bill, just quickly.
Tell us how you really feel, Gary.
Yeah, well, they're right there, see.
County roads 2.0, library 0.20, seniors 0.25, medical control 0.20, county drug task force 0.50, county parks 0.20, medical care facility 0.20, 9/11 emergency 0.20, veterans 0.20, save council 0.20, recycle 0.150.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella. Is there support?
Support.
We have support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion?
Did we, Leslie, did we by chance have one fall off or? When's the last time we had a millage fall off that you're aware of?
County?
Yeah, none that I'm aware of, right? So we didn't have 12. This is 11, right?
It's always been 11.
I think it's
It's always been 11.
11.
I remember at some point someone said we had 12 millages and there's no 12. So, no, okay.
I don't remember 12.
No. It was usually a topic when it was discussed as us having amongst most of the counties in Michigan, more than really any other county. I don't know if that's exactly true, but it's up there.
Thanks for reading them out loud too, Bill. It's for everyone in the room to hear. We get to see it clearly, but any further discussion related to FA 134-22? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Moving on to FA 135-22, authorization to increase wages, Board of Commissioners.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes an increase of 2.25% effective July 1st, 2022 for elected officials. Further, the revised 2022 salaries are as follows: treasurer $63,213.58, drain commissioner $57,651.89, prosecutor $103,764.87, register of deeds $60,573.24, clerk $64,154.26, sheriff $79,757.52, Board of Commissioner Chairman $10,885.94, Board of Commissioner Vice Chairman $10,164.44, and Board of Commissioners $9,618.05.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion on the topic?
Yeah, this follows the yearly contract, or the contract with the employees, right?
Exactly. Yep. Their first year increase was 2.25, so that's being applied to all the electeds. Any further discussion related to FA 135-22? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. That will conclude new business. This will take us into general public comment. If you have a general public comment, podium is yours.
Before I begin, I want to strongly recommend you use those types of interviews. I ran a small engineering company for years and we learned so much because they're free to speak and it helped with retention of the remainder of our workforce. Just came my thought about that. Good afternoon. My name's Jan Carville and I live in Sanilac Township. So Bill, I'm your problem or your asset, depending on how you look at it. I have a big ask today. I'm asking that this board pass a resolution to prohibit the use of voting machines in the upcoming November election. It's within your power to do so. These machines are loaded with illegal software that was never approved by the Election Commission. The software, specifically Microsoft SQL, can alter and create voting records. Further, the machines are connected to the qualified voter file, and that's what enables them to do so. In the 2020 election in Chesterfield Township, the vote for president on a straight Republican ticket went to Joe Biden. There's nothing short of machines that can do that. And that's just one example. And this is not about the capability of our county clerks. I worked the election in Saginaw during the primary. And I was trained by a well-experienced clerk. At the end of the night, we accounted for every ballot that came into that precinct. All our reports ran, everything balanced to a T. But with her 38 years of experience, she has no idea what's inside of those voting tabulars. They run proprietary software that no election official has access to. Having a private company control our election is a violation of federal election law. So I beg you to devote 1 hour of your time to watch a video called Selection Code. You can access it, selectioncode.com. It's 1 hour, and this will aid you in your understanding. If after you view it, you have any questions, I'll make myself personally available to answer them. For over 25 years, I worked in a field of ones and zeros, and I know how easy it is to manipulate data. When it comes to running machines, that can be the difference between stealing an election and actually reporting the will of the people. So please help us have a fair election in November. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any question?
I do have one question, two questions actually.
Sure.
You said that it can manipulate, the machines themselves can manipulate to change where they
The
will.
structured query language creates a table. That table is a table of all the voters and how they voted. Anyone who has access, administrative access, can alter that table. Like you can manually do that. Think of an Excel spreadsheet. What I didn't bring up, because I was trying not to get too complicated and I timed myself, is the administrator password, which you need to alter these records, is stored in plain text. So if you know how to go and find it, plain text is like reading English. So this is a big way how they did it. And there's more. There's much more, but it's trying to just give you a preview. They can, and they also have access to the qualified voter file. So they can take a voter out of there and create a new record.
So one other comment you made that election, they can't have a contract company come in and run the election. Is that what you said?
A private company, according to federal election law, private companies cannot control elections. It must be an elected election official.
Did that happen?
That happened with this proprietary software going on, and no qualified, duly elected election official knows what their proprietary software is. So I don't know how our election commission approved these machines. But they did not approve putting Microsoft SQL on there. And that is the software. So legally was put on there. And they just let it.
What did you say the solution for this board to?
I would say that the solution would be hand out. We can get a team of volunteers representative of both parties. If 35 million Frenchmen can do it in one day, Americans can do it. 35 million Frenchmen vote in one day, paper ballots. They count them. They report before midnight, the election results are reported. 35 Frenchmen can do it. Americans can do it. And we don't have a district with more than 3,000 people in it. So we can easily, within two hours, count the votes by hand.
So it would be done at the township level
It would
or
be done at the
count-
precinct level.
at the precinct level?
Right. And what I further didn't want to complicate things, but the software that controls all of elections, there's a company based in Michigan here called Konnetek, Konnetek. The software is written by Chinese software engineers. And the company is owned by a Chinese company. They're the ones who kind of report all the results together.
So you're saying that the Board of Commissioners in this county could have an effect,
Could have the
could
power.
require
Yes.
such a thing?
Yes.
And then it would be up to the elected clerk to implement that.
Correct.
And
And
then-
we can get a team of volunteers to help her in however we can. Because you've got chairs at every precinct. We could get everybody together.
Do you have the statutory language that empowers a Board of Commissions to make that?
I'll have to go back to a video, Colin County, Texas. I'll have to look that up and send it to you. And then I'll look for the appropriate Michigan statute.
Yeah, there would have to be something that references us having the authority to do such a thing before.
Okay, I will get on that and I'll send an email.
Leslie, are you aware of that the BOC has the power to make?
Yeah, but I could look it up. I could look it up as well.
I've never heard that before, but.
I could do my research.
What would happen if, say, for example, whether it was our authority or your authority to say we're hand counting every ballot? What would that be?
If there was some authority, they would just get a hand count.
What would that look like? I mean, I've been
We
involved in
barely get
recounts. It's the
volunteers
same.
now. I mean, I'm holding another election training because we don't have
Have
enough
enough.
people to volunteer.
Yeah,
My election training should be done.
It's been the
next
theme
2
of
years,
today's
but I'm
meeting.
Offering another for that purpose.
yeah.
So
How ironic that the destruction of the republic comes at the hands of not having enough volunteers to keep it going, right?
Well, only 1% of the population fought the revolution. So we can do it. You get a handful of really dedicated volunteers, we can do this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further public comment today?
I got one. Let me make this short. I'm Juan Anderson, and I know, I heard you say you had some funds available. I don't know if those funds can help. Like a protest type thing or to get a survey out. Me and some other individuals are trying to contact individuals of the Sandusky School District, since our school board will not put it on the ballot what the community wants. So we're gonna do it ourselves, and I'm collecting donations. I got over $2,000 already. So that tells you right what the community wants already. But according to the reflections over there, in order to put them in a separate envelope, so their address isn't revealed on the card, it's gonna cost $5,000, and that's with stamps included. So I didn't know if there was funds available that get this out to all taxpayers in Sandusky School District or not. I'm just putting it out there, and you can get a hold of me if you want to. And to your, when you were talking about, you know, that most people are here are older that come to these meetings, is because our kids are being indoctrinated. If they raise their voice or have their own critical thinking, they're demonized or threatened to suspend them. I've got, once since I've been out and about collecting donations in this community, has come to my knowledge that our superintendent here in Sandusky, they had their senior picture taken from the scoreboard. And the seniors started chanting their Redskin chant. Mr. Flynn said, if I hear Redskin again, you're suspended. He's also told the coaches in Sandusky, I talked to a mom, her daughter's on the cheerleading squad. And he's instructed the coaches they better not be participating in against having their own opinion. I think this is still America. If you want to chant the Redskin, you should be able to do that. That is called bullying, and that's against his contract, Article 8. He could be fired for that, whether our school board will or not, I don't know. But the mother's daughter says, Mom, I can't be involved in this protest because we were told by the coach, if we even acknowledge this or we don't want that, we're suspended from the team. That's what we're dealing with in our school. And I'm very passionate on this. This is ridiculous. He came here for one reason. He's very liberal, to get this in his hat, to destroy our community, and he's dividing our community terribly. We used to be a proud Sandusky town. We supported each other, and this man is destroying it. All I'm asking is and you get it out amongst your friends and your people you know, to support this Redskin mascot. This has been here for 80-some years since we built this school, and there's no reason why it needs to be taken down except for one man wants it down so he can go on to a bigger school with a feather in his hat. And that is bullying our students, and they're afraid to speak out because they're being threatened. That is uncalled for.
Yeah.
That's not how we want our kids raised in this community. That's my spiel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comments today? Hearing none, we have no closed session. There is no approval of closed session minutes. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hebling, support from Commissioner Ballard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 2:04.